Each week we'll review an old overlooked gem or an overlooked movie that we think one or both of us thinks should be better known. This week we're going to be reviewing a 2014 thriller called The Guest, starring Dan Stevens and Micah Monroe. This story involves a middle class suburban family who has just lost their son in Afghanistan. One day, a stranger appears at the door and he says his name is David and that he knew their son and he was with him when he died and he promised to look after them. He essentially moves in with his family. The mother and the younger brother adore him. The father is kind of ambivalent, and the younger daughter thinks he's attractive until she hears a very disturbing phone call that he makes. When she investigates this phone call and tries to find out who this guy actually is, that's when things get really crazy. And I gotta say this, and I do not make this lightly. David, played by Dan Stevens, is one of the all-time great cinema lunatics. You have to rank him alongside Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter, Norman Bates in Psycho, and Heath Ledger's Joker, because he is flat out creepy. I mean, as soon as you see his eyes, when in his first scene, when the door opens, my blood turned to ice. This guy gave me the creeps, and I mean that as a big compliment. This is a great performance, and the movie's good too, but if there's one reason to see this movie, it's for Dan Stevens.
Yeah. I agree with you on Dan Stevens' performance. It's a shame that he has not received more work since this film.
Yes.
I know he was the Beast in
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast, but certainly he deserves to do some more character work, or even possibly a follow-up or another type of this film where he can play some sort of crazy psycho, because he does it well.
Yes, he does.
And that is the most enjoyable aspect of this film. For me, this is very much, let's be clear, this is a B movie, all right?
A very good B movie.
Okay, but still a B movie, so people know what they're getting into.
Yes. A B movie that knows it's a B movie.
Yes, it knows it's a B movie, and this movie is done 1,000 times. It was especially popular in the 80s, where some sort of character comes into a typical family's life.
Yeah.
It's
a Fatal Attraction movie without being a Fatal Attraction movie.
Okay, all right, yes. This one, well, you said Fatal Attraction. I think films more like, could be, sometimes there's a robot, or or a beautiful female.
Yes.
In the case of Weird Science, it was kind of both at the
Yeah.
same time. Most of these movies most of those movies would lean towards comedy. This
Yes.
one leans more towards horror. So that's what sets it apart. That's what makes it different.
Right.
With that said, though, I enjoyed it. I'm giving it 2 out of 4.
No.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
But for me, it was still, while it was enjoyable for that performance, it was still too cliched for me. I didn't feel it did enough different with the horror
Oh
aspects
my god.
to make me ever want to prefer it over a film where it's trying to have like a nice message and more comedy mixed in.
Oh man. See, no, this movie, it does so many things different. Adam Wingard, he made You're Next, which is a slasher movie, that wasn't a slasher movie.
Yes. Which I enjoyed way more.
I
enjoyed way more.
Oh,
than the film.
please! I hated that movie. It was horrible. It was horrible. But this movie I loved, and he has a lot of. This director has a lot of fun mixing and matching genres, like at some sort of genre convention, factory. Basically he's just like shuffling them all together, and you're making fun of the genres while embracing them, and it's funny, it's weird, it's scary, it's violent. It is very violent, and not for children, by the way. But it's just this strange concoction of mixing and matching genres and it knows it's like both like embracing them and lampooning them, and it's just it's really weird, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. I give it a 3.5. It was my number 4 film of that year. I love this movie.
Okay.
It was just unbelievable.
You mentioned his film prior to this film, which was You're Next, okay?
Yes.
To me, that film, so they had a very conventional setup for a horror film.
Right.
But then I felt like the things that it did with the characters, with certain time, deaths, and everything, it surprised me at points, which is what made me enjoy it. That's what this film didn't do. This film felt like many similar beats. Let me give you another example. The recent Tom Cruise film, American Made.
Yes.
Okay, so and it's in the trailer. Everyone's seen the scene where he's sitting there and he's handcuffed and he tells everyone, "I'll give you a Cadillac, let me out of here," and then he walks out. This is all in the trailer. He walks out scot-free, so he should have took the Cadillacs, right?
Right.
That's the exact same thing that happened in the his film prior, which was the Jack Reacher series.
Yeah.
You get to the trailer at the beginning, the cop thinks he's got him and everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk out of here, that phone's gonna ring. The
Yeah.
exact same thing. That's what I felt like this movie. I see like every beat in it.
What's supposed to be?
When he's in the when they go to the bar scene. Okay?
Yes.
The bar scene. You know what's going to happen. You know what's gonna the kid is gonna have it.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable, but it's enjoyable because it's the type they do it in 1,000 times.
Yeah, well, because first of all, he knows it's been done before, and he's playing it with a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of way. So there's that, and the story is kind of a B movie yarn, and it knows it's a B movie yarn, but I mean, I just love how it mixes and matches genres, like comedy and thriller, horror and slasher and all that stuff. The problem I had with the movie is the end, where it does get a little like, conventional, loses this, kind of freewheeling, like parody, embracing, edge, and characters start getting brain cramps, and the ending was a little, oh, come on, but, you have to admit that you have to see this movie, if for nothing else, for Dan Stevens, because he is phenomenal in this movie.
He makes the film worth seeing. Two stars is still for me is saying see it or don't see it. I'm not saying it's not a recommendation. You have to see it, but it's still there. Worth seeing for the performance. And really, whenever I hear B movie, it was why I used it. I'm intrigued because I always know when I hear B movie, it's going to be a movie that either a lot of people probably love and a lot of people probably hate.
Yeah.
Or could take or leave in my case here.
You're right.
But at the same time, it's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so
this movie is consistently interesting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is interesting. So, so for me, it's a middle of the road, take it or leave it. But I can't recommend it.
Oh man, I love this movie. I give it a 3.5 out of 4. I think it's awesome. And ignore him. Go see this movie. Thank you very much for that laughter of support. All right.